What's up, everybody? It's your boy Devon Taylor here, aka Deezus, and this is my podcast, Deezus Take the Reel. No, this is not a religious podcast. It's a podcast where we're talking movies, we're talking life, and we're going to get a little weird. I'm super excited for this week's episode. It is all about choices, and man, have you made the correct choice to listen to this podcast today. I got a good friend of mine, Jason Lord, with me today. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. I'm really excited for this episode, guys. Like I was telling Jason before this, though, I had this show planned out in one structure, and it completely is something different. I changed it like literally an hour before we were doing this, but I'm really glad I did. I'm really excited for it because the Adjustment Bureau kind of opened my eyes today a little bit, made me think. So I'm really excited. We got not one game, but two games today. We're going to play two games because I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to play one, but we are going to play it. And it's only fitting because Jason introduced me to this game. The first thing that the opening segment of the show is, who the hell are you? I mean, I know who you are and what you do. I didn't know how busy you actually were until I went to your website. Mm-hmm. Like, you do a lot of things.
Yeah, it's, to answer that question specifically, it's to jokingly, I always joke about how, like, if you were to ask me who am I would really tell you I'm just kind of a nobody that just does a lot of stuff.
Like, you call yourself a Renaissance man on your website.
I like to think of it like that.
And if you ever needed to like rebrand, you could totally be like the most interesting man in Springfield. Because I mean, you're a musician, voiceover actor, mm-hmm. you build things, mm-hmm. and you like to game. You do all sorts of shit.
It's jack of all trades is something that I've enjoyed in my life from time to time because I just have a lot of interest, and it's really stupid, but every time I find something that I think is genuinely interesting, I have this urge to just learn as much as I can about it. And then some stuff sticks and some stuff stays, and I keep with it, and some stuff just kind of, it's a fun little hobby to try from time to time. But normally what I have currently is just my main bread and butter, and it just includes some small things from time to time. So
yeah, no, I think I'm pretty similar as well. Like, I realize there's a lot of things that I like to do, a lot of things I want to do. I always tell people I'm good at a lot of things. I don't think I'm great at anything in particular, but that's okay. Yeah. I like, because I have a really short attention span. Mm-hmm. Do you ever have that problem where you like feel you're like doing something that you just like kind of get bored, or you'll like get a lot of steam and then that steam kind of die out?
I don't think I can say that for me. I think people would say the opposite. Sometimes I get a little too invested in what I'm doing because I like to see things to the finish, no matter what they are.
A completist.
Not completist so much, but I want to be able to know that I did as much as I could or learned as much as I could before I actually put something aside and be like, okay, I'm done with that. With music, that's never going to quit for me, which is the great thing, which is why I chose to do it. But there are, some things from time to time that it's just like, okay, that's as much as I can do with that.
The through line.
Yeah.
You'll always have that, and I totally get that as well. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my through line is movies. Like, no matter what I'm doing, if mm-hmm. it's writing something or recording or YouTube, whatever, like there's always that through line. But at the same time, like, yeah, I like to dip my toes in a lot of different things. I mean, I came up with a great idea for an app. I told Emily about this. By the way, Jason's fiance, Emily, is here. She's going to be a judge for us on one of the games later, and we work together. So you heard about my app idea the other day, yes? Emily says yes. So Jason, what do you think about this app? Because you build and create things. Uh-huh. So this app, it would be essentially, it's a new Tinder almost, but not for dating though. Uh-huh. It's for the real important shit. It's for food. So a girl was sitting at Gailey's one day. I was serving her. She said her friend was going to show up. Friend never shows up. Girl's real fucking sad about it. I don't mind eating alone per se, but a lot of people do. So this app, you create a profile about like what food you like, and then it goes by like the distance, and like if somebody is close to you and they're in the mood for the same type of food you are, you guys can meet at this place and have food together.
What's the catch though? Do they get like a discount if they pick somebody up?
I don't think so. Like I said, like I know a lot of people that genuinely like will not go to a bar by themselves. They will not go eat by themselves. Like, they are super uber weird about it.
Yeah, I could see that, because it's just like I would say I'm the opposite. Like I'm totally down for just going and hanging out with random people that just want to grab a bite or get a drink. Like when you have that social ability. So that sounds great. I think the one question I have for you though is if it's going to be like the modern revolutionary app, what are you going to call it? I think that's
the name's already there. I have the name.
What's the name?
You ready? Mr. Eat. With question marks everywhere. You're welcome. I think this is going to be a thing. If I find somebody that does app stuff, if someone out there does app stuff, tweet at me. We will get this done.
Yeah.
And you might make a new friend. This could turn into a date situation. I mean, people are going to get weird with it, obviously. I mean, that's just but I'm not going to market it.
So like way. So obviously with those things there's the scope of the controlled experience. So like what is it sort of that kind of I know Tinder's that very streamlined left swipe, right swipe, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is it kind of the same way where it's like it's not so much that you agree to go eat with somebody, you just put it out there like, hey, I'm here, this is what I'm eating,
it
you
could
down?
Be like, it could be like that. It could be a swipe situation. You just like you say, okay, you're hungry. You open the app. You say what you're in the mood for, what area you're in, and what time you'd like to get some food.
Yeah.
And then if somebody is in that area, they can swipe through your profile and they're like, oh, hey, I'm close to that person and I'm in the mood for Mexican food. Green button.
You need to call up Amazon.
Or kind of like how Uber works.
With Uber.
I think that's how Grindr.
No, I was saying.
Oh, yeah, it's totally how Grindr works. But this is for food, though. And I think people like food enough that they will take it seriously. But, of course, no, there's going to be people out there that are like, hey, you want to get some food and then fuck in the McDonald's bathroom. I'm sure that could be a thing. I don't know. But speaking of making choices about things, I'm getting so much better at these segues. I really suck at transitions.
Well, I was saying when you opened it up, you made a pretty good I was going to do the podcast one way, but then I changed my mind, so you made a choice to change it. So it was pretty good there.
I mean, you noticed that one because that one was not on purpose.
Yeah.
But hell yeah, it works. So we're gonna get into the first game. Which game you want to play first? You want to play Synopsis or you want to do this Choose Your Adventure?
You know, I think Synopsis works better as like a palate cleanser. So I'd say we could do that first. That's fine. Going from talking about streamlined food dating / fucking, we can jump straight into Synopsis and just get really weird.
Yes, I totally agree. So Synopsis is a game that Jason and Emily came up with, and they played it on one of Jason's other podcasts, and I played it whenever I appeared on their podcast, and it's so much fun. It's a really cool idea. So basically, we have 3 obscure movie titles. These are obscure, shitty movies that hopefully we've never heard of. Emily will give us the title, and she'll give us the year, and me and him will do a quick 1-minute pitch of what the movie is about based on that information, correct?
Yeah, it's correct, and the best part is most often we never get anywhere in the ballpark.
Exactly. So like once we hear like what the real one is, that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
so that's what we're going to do, and we'll do best 2 out of 3. Emily's going to read us the synopsis. Is that the
synopsis?
Plural?
The synopsis, yeah.
Synopses. Yeah. There we go.
That's a good one. I like that. I like that.
Emily's reading the synopses to us, and then she'll tell us who was the closer one. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first movie. Emily, go ahead and say hi real quick, because I don't know if people believe that you're actually here.
Hello.
All right, there we go. See, there is another person here. This is a first for the podcast, like someone else being in here while we're recording. So this is cool. I want to do like a live audience and make people laugh. Like I'll have a sign that says laugh track, so everybody like claps and is like, ah. I want to do like, old school style. But anyways, back to the game. So go ahead and read us the first title of the movie and what year it was.
Okay, the first title is not in English, and if I butcher it, I'm really, really sorry, but whatever. Okay, the first title, it came out in 1982, and the title is Dünyayı Kurtaran Adam. So go for it.
All right. Would you like to go first?
I'm sitting here thinking about what language that even is to begin with. So
okay, I got one on the
These
fly.
are people from Turkey.
Oh, this is Turkish? Okay.
Okay.
That changes mine a little bit, but
say it one more time.
It might be different whenever I say it this time. It's Dünyayı Kurtaran Adam.
Okay, I guess I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. God, what do Turkish people even do? That's the tough part. I'm gonna go on a limb. I'm gonna say that it is a. I'm gonna say it's like a old style Siklus story, which is it's that style of Journey. I don't know what country or culture that comes from, but it's like the old like Journey to the West story. So you have this gaggle of Turkish people of sorts. I don't know.
I just love the word gaggle.
I think it's great too. It's a gaggle of Turks, let's say, and they are journeying across the vast country of Turkey to, let's say they're on a pilgrimage of some kind. I'm going to assume, I'm going to Romanize the fuck out of that last word, Adam. So let's just say it's a biblical adventure to find the origin of man. More specific, okay, they're trying to find the fossil of Adam in biblical Old Testament is what they're trying to do, which is
like Adam and Eve.
Yeah. Let's say like Adam and Eve. I'm really reaching here, but I'm trying. So we got this gaggle of people looking for Adam, and it's sort of just like I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Canterbury Tales or something like that. That's old medieval story of just a group of different professions of different walks of life, and they all tell their stories as they walk across this long journey to search for this fossil. And turns out that the more important thing that they find is the things they have in common with one another, and maybe some friendships are formed. And who gives a fuck if they find out whether or not Adam was real or not? And that's what matters. So
it's a road trip movie.
Basically, yeah.
Turkish road trip movie.
It's like Roadhogs, but it's Turkish.
Okay. Is it like comedy-ish? Like, is there shenanigans on this journey, or is this like a more serious one? Like
I want to say I'm going to say it borders on Wes Anderson levels of humor. So every shot is very dynamic and it has specific direction and purpose, but the humor is very subtle and smart.
Okay. Mine is also kind of in Wes Anderson vein, I believe. So mine is, this takes place, it's a very isolated movie, and it's a dinner party. It's a fancy dinner party. These Turks really know how to throw a dinner party. So they throw, but it's really posh and pretentious, just kind of like, but then some shit goes down. So one of the maids finds a dead body in the spare bedroom, and it turns into like an episode of, or not an episode, but turns into Clue or something like that. And so who was around during the incident? We got to figure out who is dead in the first place and all this stuff. But it's these very, like I said, they're very posh, they're very pretentious. So it's a very dark comedy. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what I'm going with.
How are you supposed to be posh and pretentious in Turkish?
Like, this is...
That's why I asked in the beginning, like, this is so, like, ignorant, but what do Turkish people do?
This is very ignorant.
Yeah, like, so
it's whatever Turkish people's main export is.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. The only thing I know...
I was thinking leather for some reason.
The only thing I know about Turkish people is Chronicles of Narnia, because they have Turkish delights, and it's just like those little snackadills that they have, and it's just like, okay, that's what's in Turkey. That Turkey is filled with that, and it all comes from there.
I don't know. I'm thinking like it's a real old money family. So I was thinking like leather. They had a leather factory. But they threw a party. It was a dinner party, maybe for the executives.
So we got one or two people that are wearing a frilly something there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm going.
I can at least picture that. Like, you can say someone's in like frilly, poshy stuff, and you can just tag on like, oh, by the way, they're Turkish, and then that's fine. That works.
I think so. Emily, who gets the point here? Who's closer, and what is this movie actually about? Is there an English translation for the title by chance?
There is, and you guys were both so far off. I'm looking up Turkey's main export right now. They're actually really into high technology, automotive industry, that sort of thing.
I was thinking cars too.
Mineral fuels and oils, that sort of thing. So they definitely produce a whole lot
leather?
more than...
Leather's not on that list?
There's no leather. That is not a thing. This is not...
Turkish leather, that's a thing.
That would be like the Western United States in like the 1700s, like the fur trade. Like, they're not French people, okay? They speak French there. Man,
we are...
I think.
Do they? Man, we do not know anything. I don't
Get
know
out of your bubble.
Turkish people.
Anyway. Okay, so the English translation is The Man Who Saved the World. It gets better. It gets so much better. I'm really happy that I found this, and I kind of want to watch it because it is a Turkish sci-fi adventure, and it's commonly known as the Turkish Star Wars. But It's notorious for illegally using footage from other well-known sci-fi films and shows, most notably Star Wars, along with stealing the music score from films such as it stole the score from Moonraker. It also stole music from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's also criticized because its plot doesn't make any sense, which I guess it must make absolutely no sense at all because it is not. I can't find an actual plot of it anywhere. And it's just called the world's worst film. It's so bad that it's good. It's a dollar store Star Wars.
All right.
I'm going to double down on my ignorance and say that I would never have been able to come to that conclusion because the whole time in my head, for some reason I was thinking it's like they're not technologically modern, so that there's no way I would be able to think. I don't know why that's where my brain was going. That's just kind of where it went.
We're Americans.
America.
That's us, guys.
Turkey is not necessarily
I'm sorry
a
if
third
there's
world
any
country.
listeners from Turkey. I apologize. Please educate me in your ways. So
get out of your Eurocentric bubble. Jason does because he mentioned a journey. I don't think they sat around tables very much. I don't think. Yeah. But once again, who could really say? All right, the next movie. It is from 1991, and the title is Popcorn. Devon gets to go first. Did I say that point goes to Jason?
Yeah.
I did. Okay, Devon, you get to go first.
Is there a hyphen? Or is it, okay, no hyphen. Just, okay, single word popcorn, 1991. All right. I'm thinking, oh, man, popcorn.
It's such a deceiving word because you'd want to think it. You know, it could be point blank something really simple, or it could be one of those off-topic kind of deeper things. That's the danger with single word. Or I guess if there's no hyphen, it's a single word.
Okay, I'm thinking if it's the 90s, we're not getting too artsy. So I think it does have to do with popcorn. So what I'm thinking is it's set in the 1950s. A family owns the local movie theater. And but it's a front though. Like, I mean, they do show movies and stuff, but it's a front. This family, they were struggling. The theater was not performing. I mean, it was paying the bills, but wasn't performing super well. So the dad gets this great idea to use it as a front, and he gets into this is late 50s, so this is like right before the cocaine boom. And so he starts a cocaine drug ring fronted by his their family owned local movie theater. It's Popcorn. That's what I got.
Okay. Well,
popcorn is code word for cocaine.
Okay, I didn't know if we established that or not,
yes,
but yeah,
they go to the movie theaters and they're like, yes,
what
I need a large popcorn.
So in the same way as like if you go to let's say in the olden days when people would they'd try to sneak weed in pizza stores, so it's like I'd like that extra crunchy or whatever that is. What's the code add-ons for popcorn? Is it like, do you want some butter on that, or what specifically?
How much? Yeah, salt.
Yeah.
Salt, cocaine, salt. Is this salted popcorn, sir? Yes, it is. Extra salty, please.
I'm gonna kind of in the same vein. It's gonna be, the scenery is gonna be the same, but I think my idea is gonna be a little different. So I'm gonna say it's 90s. So I want to say around that time. I don't remember when rom-coms started becoming more and more prevalent. I want to say it was maybe in the 90s, possibly.
I think that's like when these movies like started like identifying
I think that's
as rom-coms.
I think that's around the time where they became more comfortable letting like comedians actually like do the lead roles, or at least have more substance in the movies than being like comedic relief in a sense, I think. So I'm going to say that Popcorn is I want to say when I hear that makes me think it's some kind of romantic comedy themed around two like cinephiles or something like that, or people who are really like obsessed with movies. So it's just like you said it's 1990s, so it's not in that artsy form, but I feel like it's the perfect kind of name to be vague, but to like explain the entire, it's they are bonding over movies, and the one thing that ties all of it together.
This could have been a young Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah, it could have been.
Maybe.
It's
who was like Billy Crystal. He was in a lot of
it's like
in a lot of rom-coms then.
Billy Crystal. I don't know, man. Was he in a lot of those, or I feel like he was more in like the buddy trio movies a lot.
That too, yeah.
Because I'm thinking like I'm not thinking like specifically like super cheesy rom-com. I'm talking stupid like Adam Sandler style, where there's love in there, but it's also some really low grade '90s like body humor and stuff like that.
Okay, so is this a little raunchy?
I'd say it borders on raunchy, maybe. Possibly, but I'm gonna say it's
and the main character is like, would you like some butter on your popcorn?
Yeah, so let's say let's call it
the camera.
I'll make it more specific. It's every other Adam Sandler movie, which is a middle-aged man-child who's not accomplished anything, suddenly is thrust into responsibility, but also at the same time inexplicably gets the girl of his dreams for no good reason, and they just so happen to both be moviegoers, and they eat popcorn together.
All right.
That's what I'm going to go with.
Regardless of what the movie's actually about, I would see both of these movies.
Probably I would too. Yeah.
Okay, Emily?
Well, the point goes to Devon because his was more dark and this is not a rom-com at all. So as soon as Jason said, "Oh, you know," you couldn't hide it. So I was just like, I'm rolling with it. Well, what was the point? Yeah, no. Jason, no, you don't get the point. So the next one's going to be the tiebreaker. But so Popcorn, 1991. The summary on IMDb is it's a Leatherface type murderer who wears other people's faces and kills at an all-night horror-thon at an old theater put on by a bunch of film students.
I was almost going to go like sort of that route.
You should have. Oh. So, and then here's the dumb twist. Maggie, the lead character, believes it's Lanyard Gates, a crazed filmmaker who killed his family live on stage.
Oh my God!
You were there for Lanyard
Gates. Yes, I was.
Where was Lanyard Gates? There's another movie with Lanyard Gates in it. What?
Jason needs to talk in the microphone.
I have to talk about this because
did we do this?
No, I don't.
When I played it, because we mentioned Lanyard Gates.
I don't think it was the same movie. I don't think
Lanyard Gates the actor? What?
Okay, so if you're confused at the moment, this is me. I'm interjecting here. Like, we did a podcast way back, like last year, and we played this same game, and that name has struck a chord with us ever since. Lanyard Gates.
I mean, the first thing that comes up is the movie Popcorn. That's the first thing that comes up.
Is there by chance some crazy twist of fate that when we happen to be on a podcast again, playing the same game again, that Emily picks the same movie that we talked about the first time again?
I think that is exactly what happened. I'm almost positive.
Gates.
Oh my God!
Because that was like a meme by the end of the night when we were doing it on the last one. It's like,
holy shit!
I think it's possible.
I think we picked the same one, but that's hilarious.
Now here's the real question though. Did we have relatively the same ideas about it that we did the last time?
I'm gonna go back at some point. I'll do that tonight.
I think I had something completely different the last time. I'm pretty sure.
I don't have the faintest idea. I can't even remember what I did yesterday. I'm not going to remember what I did a year ago.
Yeah, that was a year ago we recorded this podcast too. Yeah. Wow.
Dude, high five on that. That's awesome.
Like,
anyway,
if you guys could have seen our faces, whatever she said, Lanyard Gates.
She said those magic words.
It's a magical name. I mean, it really is.
Anyway, so he's back to kill his daughter Sarah, who's believed to actually be Maggie. So I don't know.
What does him wearing faces on his face have to do with popcorn?
There's popcorn at the theater.
Yeah,
and I imagine that
like a killer route.
If you had done that, then I would have just not let Jason talk.
I was gonna say that there was gonna be a murder at a movie theater.
I was on the fence about it too because it's one of those vague titles that horror movies usually use, like Jawbreaker, or you know, it's in the same.
That's a good movie.
Or Scream. They use those one-word descriptor things, and
I've done a rant video on my YouTube about how frustrated I've become with one-word movie titles because like it's effective when it's used properly, but now we like have like oversaturated. I don't want to get off onto a tangent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so it is 1-1. This is the tiebreaker. Emily, go ahead and read us the last film.
This is my favorite title so far. It's from 2005, which isn't that long ago, so I really, really hope that you haven't heard it because I don't want to try to find another one. The title is Man with the Screaming Brain. Jason, you go first.
The Man with the Screaming Brain.
Okay. I wonder if it has any relation to like Man in the Iron Mask.
It's probably Lanyard Gates.
Or it could be in that book series like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Girl with the Hornets, or Threw a Shoe at the Hornet's Nest, something like that.
Yeah,
that's
you'd have
not
to.
It, but it's something like that.
You have to decide if you're going to take a literal route with it.
Throwing a shoe at a hornet's nest is something that we young hillbillies always did. She kicked the hornet's nest.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I knew it had something to do with the hornet's nest.
I haven't seen any of those. It just off the top of my head because I'm thinking about it. Was Daniel Craig in one of those?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's the only thing I remember about it.
But okay, it's the Man with the Screaming Brain.
Man with the Screaming Brain. Okay.
Wait, what year was it? Did you say? You said 2005? Okay, 2005.
2005. Okay. I'm going to take the metaphorical route with that title. I remember back when I was an undergrad, a movie. I don't know if it came out when I was an undergrad, but I remember my roommate watched this movie. It was called Idiocracy.
That's a good movie.
We were experimenting some technical differences or something. But I remember that idea of that movie was everyone was getting dumber. Everyone was just getting dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber, and that's it. But I'm going to go the route and say that this movie has something to do with the same vein that as time goes on, society has sort of dropped in like the intellectual capacity that they have, but there is one individual who has retained his intellect and his interest and his intrigue in life, and he's surrounded by all these people who don't think or, work or do anything the same way that he does, and he's just like going insane because there's nobody he can relate to. So the whole movie is about him like over the years having this existential crisis of like thinking like, is everyone getting dumber? Like even the smart people around me, are they getting dumber too? Like, am I getting dumber? No, I can't be getting dumber. And so he kind of like loses his mind because he has more knowledge than everybody else. So I'm gonna take that route and say like he's the man with the screaming brain, because it's like I'm the only one left. Where is everybody else? Kind of thing. And it's just his sort of. It's kind of like is biopic the right word for that kind of thing?
It could work, but you want to know what the funny thing is? Like that's literally what my exact pitch was going to be essentially. Well, don't worry, I came up with 2 ideas just in case, but that was literally going to be mine.
So I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna go with that. It's sort of like this sort of like, I almost want to say it's like it's not a real documentary, but it follows one guy in a descent to madness.
Okay.
As he realizes everyone is getting
character study of
everyone is getting dumber than him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mine was actually still going to be a little bit different than that. So I'm going a little bit more of the sci-fi route. So this guy, he's super super duper smart, like can learn anything, and then he finds out that he has these abilities to connect with technology, and that's what makes him so smart because he's like connected with like the internet essentially. And this takes place like in the kind of future because 2005, so internet wasn't what it is today yet. So this is a very sci-fi film, but yes, he's very smart and can kind of tap into technology. And then so of course the government comes after him and they want him to be like a military, like to do espionage for them, get into other people's computers, hack them and whatnot. So, but he doesn't want to do that, obviously. The government's taking advantage of him, so now he is on the run because he escapes the facility. He's on the run from the government, and they are trying to get this guy back who has these extraordinary abilities, and his mind is a weapon. So the man with the screaming brain. That is what I'm going to go.
You say that, and there's a movie that's coming in my head that I haven't seen before, but it makes me... Is that like that Johnny Depp movie, Transcendence?
Because that movie is horrible.
Okay,
I believe in my head that this is a good movie.
Gotcha.
No.
I don't know.
Not like that.
It's like the consciousness or something like that. I haven't seen it, so in my head I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's actually what that movie was like, and it's just no.
In that movie, he's dying and transfers his mind into a computer essentially,
and then he becomes God, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So gets a big God complex. So mine's not like that. My guy doesn't even like to use his abilities. He's just the government and all that shit. He just wants to be smart and learn things. That's all he
Johnny Depp dies turns into a computer, but he still gets fined by Australia for bringing in pets when he's not supposed to.
Sounds about right. Bad luck, Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Emily, who is closer?
You were both so far away. I don't even know. Devon, I'm going to say point goes to you because yours sounds like slightly closer.
Like, is this one kind of sci-fi-ish?
I imagine, yeah, it is a sci-fi. And there are like mad scientists, that sort of thing in it.
Because there always is.
Because there always is. So point goes to you, so you win. The summary.
I won last time too.
Summary for Man with the... You did. Man with the Screaming Brain is a story of greed, betrayal, and revenge in a small Bulgarian town. So I guess this is also not an American film. Whatever. Anyway, William Cole, a wealthy industrialist, winds up with part of his brain replaced by that of a Russian cab driver named Igor. The two couldn't be more different, but they share one thing. Both were killed by the same woman. Brought back together
what
by...
are the odds?
Yeah. Brought back to life by a mad scientist, William and Igor form an unlikely partnership to track down their common nemesis. I personally want to see this movie.
Okay.
So Devon wins. Good job. And I'm out.
So it's the Bulgarian version of Idle Hands.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The Idle Hands, you said, it's the one where he has a serial killer's arm.
It's the kid, he loses, I don't know if he loses one hand or both of them, but the whole story is that because he had a transplant of a body part from a serial killer, that body part like controls him and kills people for no apparent reason. I guess that's the premise. So
yeah. Okay. The two brains, I also saw that on a TV show recently. I can't think of what. Or no, there was a terrible Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Costner movie.
Oh yeah,
and it was something about transferring.
They were really trying to play that one up, almost in the same way they were playing up that Johnny Depp movie that we were just talking about with that, and then it just turned out to.
Yeah, so I guess if one of us would have pitched the Johnny Depp Transcendence movie as the Man with the Screaming Brain,
yeah,
or maybe Transcendence ripped off of him because this is a Bulgarian film.
Bulgarian.
All right.
I'm just as ignorant about Bulgarians as I am about Turkish people.
I think I'm more ignorant about Bulgarians than I am Turkish people, probably. But yeah, that does it for Synopsis, and I'm 2-0 in this game. That makes me very happy.
Even Lanyard Gates couldn't help me. It's like
Lanyard Gates. That is, oh man, that's such a name.
He's like a Scooby-Doo villain, that Lanyard Gates.
Oh, and they rip off the mask at the end.
It's like Freddy's like
Lanyard Gates.
Okay, Freddy is like, let's see who this bad guy really is, and they pull it off, and everybody just says Lanyard Gates, and
in unison.
It's like, I would have killed you all too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
He sounds like a rough and tough farmer. he went to villainy after his farm was in jeopardy. But yeah, Synopsis, that was a super fun game, and I have two games because I found another game that I wanted to play just in case if we couldn't play Synopsis, but I'm glad that we can now. So this episode today is about making choices. Mm-hmm. So you remember those choose your own adventure books as a kid? Goosebumps had some really cool ones.
Yeah.
But they're like the old school, and you like make a choice, and then they tell you like what page to go to, and then. And you could read this book like a million times. Like I remember I read one and I think it had and it would tell you too, it's like over 120 different scenarios. Mm-hmm. I'm like, holy shit. Like, you know how hard it is to write those?
Like my whole process is how do you start? Like where do you go with that? Do you think up one main? So my thing whenever I heard about those, and I remember those because I used to.
There's always the main storyline, but then it's like the smaller choices.
Do you
lead
think
you down.
The author has like his or her ideal path that you would go down? Yeah. That's the story, but then from that point they would make just branching kind of.
I think so because I'm on this website and it's called ChooseYourStory.com, and people can create these games and make these games. And then that's all it is. It's a lot of these, whenever I was like reading, trying to like pick out which ones, it like says like, okay, they say, yes, there is one clear path or one correct path, but not all of them do. Some of them are open-ended. So we're going to go ahead and play one of these games. The first one is called Now You Gotta Deal With This Shit.
Oh, crap.
Okay. You're watching porn at home. In teenage bliss when some fools start texting, "Oh, it's your sis. I can't drive right now. Come and get me." She says, Sometimes you really hate that fat, stupid Les. What the hell? I can't. Just so you know, I couldn't preview these because I didn't want to know where it went. So this is new to me, but this is funny. Christmas party with friends. She'd be safe. She swore, but her friends might as well be $2 whores. Oh, this
is it a rhyming?
Shit, I didn't even realize it. Yes, I'm supposed to be reading this lyrically. Okay, this will be so much better now. And so you play the hero when she gets lit. Sucks, but now you gotta deal with this shit. Resigned, you grab your keys, slam the door of your car, check an address, and sigh, this place is pretty far. A manse in the woods sounds like a bad movie, yet there you must go to rescue that floozy. So the first thing I click on says shortly. More texts arrive as the road enters the trees. Blake, things are getting kinda weird, hurry please. Most of my friends seem to be sick or in pain, but don't call the cops, we've had lots of cocaine.
I'm totally fine if this isn't a choose your own adventure.
I don't think it is. They all only have one thing to click on, but I like this though. Well, here you are. This old mansion is creepy. Katie better be real sorry and weepy. No one cares to answer when you ring the bell, so you just let yourself in. Might as well. So it says go in. Okay, no, there are choices.
Oh,
so there's
sweet.
Choices on this one.
Do I have to rhyme when I pick or anything? Or is it just like the choices rhyme or anything like that?
No, they don't. I think it's just like you just choose what to do.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this place for a party, it's oddly quiet, though they sure trash the place, looks like a riot. Yet you see no one around. Where'd they all go? There's 2 places to search, up high or down low. So the choice says, do we search upstairs or do we search downstairs?
Bad stuff happens in lower quarters of houses, so I'm going to go up. Let's go upstairs.
Okay. Ascending the stairs, they creak and they shiver. If you break your neck, you'll never forgive her. Stench up here recalls wet dog, stains on the floor. Just past the landing, something bangs at the door. Do we open it or do we wait? I mean, I say we wait. We might as well fucking...
You know what? I like to be better safe than sorry. Let's wait.
The door shakes, it rattles, but doesn't quite roll. A growl and then something earthly howls, pierce your soul. Something angry, heavy, and large bangs against. To back slowly away seems good common sense. So do we open it or do we still not open it? It says open or nope. So it sounds like there might be a dog behind this door.
I'm gonna say so, and like if we're being given these choices from a higher power, and he's giving me the option to nope out of something, I'm gonna go for it. Let's nope out of there.
All right, we're noping. A wise choice, but it already has your scent. Smashing door to splinters. The beast's red eyes glint. Glint? Is that a word?
Glint? Yeah, that's a word. It's like glimmer or shine.
Okay. Mm-hmm. There are typos in these because these are like made by people. But anyways. Twisted mockery of canine, teeth like knives, nothing to do now but run for your life. Do you run down the hall? Do you run into the nearest room? Or do you run back down the stairs?
I'm going to assume that if I run to the nearest room, there's a door. So let's go running to the room.
Okay, we run into the nearest room. Thinking fast, you pick a door and duck inside. Beast growls without you didn't exactly hide. But there must be some way to give it the slip, or your flesh and bones it surely will rip. Dumbwaiter or search side rooms? Oh, okay, so it's like one of those mini elevators. Mm-hmm. This is in an old house.
Gotcha.
So do we take the dumbwaiter or do we search the side rooms?
Hell no, man. You got that dumbwaiter, that's like your pathway to salvation. You hop in that bad boy. Let's go.
All right, taking the dumbwaiter. You think you saw this in a movie once, so you lower yourself down instead of lunch. Now you're on the first floor kitchen, but wait, a girl... This one didn't rhyme very well. Now you're on the first floor kitchen, but wait, a strange girl is here with a zombie-like gait. The girl turns to you, blood on her mouth. Just who the fuck has she been eating out? This girl is freaking you out. Should you run, or is it time for your smoothest moves, my son? Smooth moves, or do we run? I don't know what smooth moves mean.
I don't know either, but let's find out. Let's see where these smooth moves get us.
Milady, you start, but she seems unimpressed. In your best fedora, if only you dressed. But turns out she's all over you anyways, and then you died. What more is there to say? Rip.
Well, if I'd known I was a neckbeard going into this, I would have had some different I would have had some different opinions about some of those choices because I was played up to sound like this cool, suave dude, I would think. But then Smooth Moves and Milady.
So it says Rip 6 out of 12. So we could have made it farther, I guess. There could have been more choices. Mm-hmm. And the end picture is a gravestone. It says, "Here lies Blake. He done got wrecked. Pick comedy option. What'd you expect?" That's hilarious. I kind of want to. I'm going to visit this site more. This is awesome.
Can I just say that right there? I understand like old school adventure stuff was pretty straightforward, but this one is like meta as fuck. So like the actual narrator is like he's giving you choices, but he's trying to, I guess, in the same vein, direct you down a specific path.
I mean, it's kind of like what you would do in a horror film situation.
I got to be honest. If I'm in a dumbbell waiter and I'm in a situation where there's something like zombie whatever thing, and a thought goes through my head like, I bet my Smooth Moves could get me out of this. I don't know why I picked that choice, but it's just like...
Yeah, I didn't know if it meant like trying to hit on the zombie girl, or if it meant like... I thought it meant like maybe sweet fighting moves.
I was thinking like Michael Jackson dance moves in my head.
Dance moves? Yeah. Like I didn't know where
I was half expecting I was half expecting some kind of joke with Thriller or something with like the sway and the clap with the hands and you know.
And then, so, was it not his sister texting us?
I guess, maybe.
Like, because he showed up to a house and there was no party. What? I don't know. This was real cool, though. I'm glad we did this.
That's dope.
But, yeah, so the theme of today's movies are movies about making choices. Jason threw out The Adjustment Bureau. One, probably the most random choice anybody's chosen. But also, I really like it whenever somebody chooses a movie I haven't gotten to see because that forces me to watch it. So, yeah, I just watched that for the first time today. This is Matt Damon and Emily Blunt back in 2011. Anthony Mackie, Terrence Stamp. It has a lot of big names in it. And it just, it was never like super huge or anything, but it has good reviews and stuff. And I didn't know, I knew what the premise was of this movie. So, basically, you have the Adjustment Bureau. I didn't know that they were stand-ins for like this like religious commentary. Like they make jokes about it in the film about them being angels and the chairman being God, but is it, or I don't know. So they make adjustments to people's lives so that way things go according to plan. So what made you choose the movie?
You know, it was honestly, it was really just the trailer got me because I'm not an avid movie watcher. I'm the first to admit that. And most of the times I will only go see a movie. This is going to sound really shitty, but I read the book before I see a movie in a lot of cases. The only times I haven't done that have been like, you know, Harry Potter movies or things like that, which is like, it's fine because those things can stand alone on their own, even if they weren't a book. But the Adjustment Bureau, before I went and saw it, I looked it up and was like, okay, it's a Matt Damon movie. You know, before then, all I could associate Matt Damon with was, you know, Good Will Hunting and Jason Bourne. That was it. So it was like, oh, it's that same case where it's like, can Matt Damon, does he have any other acting chops aside from that in the same
Besides
vein?
Matt Damon?
Yeah, in the same vein that
he wasn't getting rescued from anything in this one.
In the same vein like I had with like Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell. I had that same kind of feeling about it. It's like, well, Will Ferrell's doing a non-comedic role. Can he pull it off kind of thing? And I felt that same way about Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon, even though it does still have that like...
But he's doing like one of these higher thinking type of movies.
Right.
Like, it's not like indie or artsy, but it does have like high thinking things.
Yeah, so he's not the ultimate protagonist beating people's skulls in. Like he is the
congressman.
Yeah, he's a congressman who's conflicted with this idea that his entire life was based off a plan, and the premise, the whole crux of the movie, it is a romance. That's the whole point.
Which I didn't know. I didn't know that this was a romance. I thought it was like a conspiracy like type film, kind of.
I would agree. It is conspiracy, but they drop the romance in such that's not oversaturated, but it plays a huge role in the whole concept of the theme of it. So I went and saw this movie, and I immediately knew it was a good movie because after I had seen it the first time, I had already said to myself in my head, I think I have to go see that movie again because it's like, I enjoyed it, but I didn't comprehend it fully. I had to go see it again. Yeah. It's almost like the same way me and Em had to go see Kubo and the Two Strings twice.
Fucking love that movie.
We saw that movie once, and we had this ungodly long conversation about what the point of the movie was, because that was the crux of why people either liked it or didn't like it, because they didn't like the way the story was formatted.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is that, well, if you don't get a movie right off the bat, and you have that feeling, it's like, could I get a better understanding of it if I saw it twice?
Which there's a lot of movies out there that like get better upon the second watch, because then you notice the more small subtleties. And the thing with my experience of watching it was, like I said, I didn't know that the romance played like such a big part of the film, but that's what kind of hindered it for me. I liked the stuff with the Adjustment Bureau, but I didn't buy into the relationship as much. I mean, I did, just because they're both very likable people, Yeah. But so by the end of the movie, though, they kind of meet in the middle, because like, do you interpret the movie as like more of the religious commentary and about free will, or is it more of the when you love someone strong enough and you can overcome these obstacles? Like, what more did you take out of it?
Yeah, here's the problem with that, because and M will tell you anybody, because I am highly critical of continuity in movies when I watch them. It's not like I'm actively seeking it. It's like I cannot help but see it. Like when I watch a movie that I'm invested in, I can't help but notice those things. Like I'm not actively seeking them, but I'm going back and I'm thinking about plot and what it has to do and what the overall message is. And sometimes things just don't make sense to me because they don't add up.
Yeah.
So I'd say the first obvious thing that I didn't like about this movie is Emily. What was her name? Emily Blunt.
Yeah. Emily Blunt's the actress. Her name was Elise.
Right, Elise. Just the. I guess she was British in that movie. I guess that's the one thing.
Yeah.
They dropped her in here for romance, and that's the first thing I just don't understand in that. They never hinted.
We don't know much about her.
Right.
She even says at one point, like, you don't know much about me. How do you know what I'm feeling? Because, it's just kind of one of these, and you're supposed to buy into it. It's just kind of one of these love at first sight types of things. Like, they met in this ridiculous circumstance, and then, but that's kind of a theme of the film, though, is things, whether is it happening by chance or is it happening because of the Bureau?
And that's the ultimate irony of that movie, is because even the storytellers can't make that decision, because it's, in a sense, when you're talking about such a complex religion-based subject as free will, if you want to take it. Anytime you have a movie that sets in place a almighty mover or shaker or whatever, at the point at which you contradict the initial message or the initial doctrine or rule, you've made a whole mockery of the concept. So you spend this entire movie with these guys who are taking orders from higher up, you big boss, whatever he says goes.
But then you learn that there were other plans, and then that the plan changes, and then you're like...
Yeah, well, no, it's that final part when Anthony Mackie meets him, and you want to think for a second. They even hinted it to you, like...
No, he even said, he goes, are you the chairman?
Matt Damon basically asked Anthony Mackie, like, are you God, in a sense? And he's like, he says no. But then again, when he says... the chairman would like for you to plot your own path. It's like, well, why the fuck doesn't he do that for everybody? Like,
I know. Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, at the end, I was like, is he the chairman? Because he said that this was all a test. He was like, it's all a test to see what you do, and they keep hinting at he has this higher purpose. And I'd like to believe that his higher purpose wasn't just to become president.
Right. But
or else why would they care so much about him?
My thing is that, like, I enjoyed all of that movie, and I'm going to be honest, up until that point. Because not only does it establish this idea that we've completely negated the whole drama of the whole movie with that one statement or that one concept.
Well, see, once the Doors thing happened, that's what got me out of it. Whenever I was like, okay, now they're starting to go back on their own rules.
Right. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But the idea that there's twofold that you learn when you read this point with Matt Damon and Anthony Mackie having this catharsis at the end of the movie, which is one, nothing that was established at the beginning, the rules of that universe didn't matter to begin with, and
apparently,
and two, it states that Matt Damon and Emily Blunt are special snowflakes that get to have this exception. Why them? They are the two people who get to break this rule. Why? And I understand for the sake of the scope of how epic it was supposed to be, that storytelling, you could just have two people that break the mold and do that.
And then that just be that.
Right.
Then,
I feel like it would have been better for them in that movie, because they hinted at it. They had that movie where they have the files. It's supposed to be like in heaven. It's just like this big, it's this business of some kind, and they have files and dossiers on everybody.
Yeah.
And they constantly meet like, well, this has happened before. They met back in the 90s and the 80s. They've met.
And then and it just, like, I enjoy a movie that can set up this world.
Mm-hmm.
It could set up this world with rules,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you make it believable that they stick to them. And then, so the third act for me, definitely, I think it kind of started to collapse in on itself a bit.
Yeah, they copped out by doing the quick jump in time kind of thing. And then
I like that, but then I didn't like that spoiler alert for a 5-year-old movie, so I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
But, so they break up twice.
Mm-hmm.
That's especially like why I didn't buy into this. Like, I didn't buy into this relationship. We saw a couple montages of them spending like an evening together, and then they fall in love.
Well,
apparently.
like they went to a rave and like took Molly or some shit.
They went to a rave and all sorts of things. So we just see a montaged relationship, which is fine. But if I would have believed in that a little bit more, then maybe the movie would have felt a little bit more balanced, because now if I'm not focusing on the romance, I'm focusing all my attention on the heavy shit. And I think that's why it's easier to pick apart a little bit.
Well, my problem is that, they jump twice in the movie. They jump when he initially gets separated from her and has no way to contact her. And then, of course, through means of the theme of the story, they randomly, by chance, meet again. It wasn't supposed to happen. But in both cases, and this is just me thinking common sense with people, and I understand the theme is like you can't escape fate, whoever you love is the one you're going to love kind of thing. But she caves twice and just accepts reality and just like, okay, yeah, I love you again kind of thing. It's just like, that's some bullshit right there, man.
Especially, showing up on her wedding day. And then, I do like that she is asking like questions like, what is going on? She wasn't just like going with it. And then I do like the scene. That's the scene on the Statue of Liberty Island. That was like whenever I finally bought into the romance a little bit. And I was like, okay. Like, but did you guys earn it? Maybe not, but
it speaks a lot about the differences between the two characters. And this is the point that I hate the most about this movie is they play this idea that Matt Damon has had months, years to sort of accept and contemplate this idea that his choices have ripple effects and that people are constantly watching him. Like the conspiracy theory that only he knows, right?
Yeah.
But Emily Blunt's character just accepts it without any kind of short notice or completely on short notice, just from Matt Damon explaining it to her. And it feels like it's like she didn't have a chance to develop the same way that he did. So I don't know if that's supposed to be this kind of dynamic between the two of them, but I have no idea. Yeah.
And like whenever he offers them the choice and like saying like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention if you choose her, she doesn't get her hopes and dreams. And like putting them in this situation, then it turns out to be a lie, which that really pissed me off. I was like, well, I thought this guy was supposed to be like really good at his job, not just lie to him.
That's the same thing. It's that idea that I said. It's like, once that's revealed, it makes you wonder like what makes a mockery of the whole concept. It's just like,
because they're supposed to, they even make a joke about it too whenever he goes, ooh, improvising, we're not very good at that. Like,
let's talk about that for instance. Let's talk about the scene, the Rocky montage scene, where in one night,
Matt Damon learns how to perfectly navigate the door system.
Matt Damon prepares to go up against the Ivan Drago of heaven, the Ivan Dragos of heaven with Anthony Mackie's assistants, and they do sort of this montage where Mackie is sort of, quickly explaining in exposition what angels can and can't do, and the whole point of this traveling through doors. And they have a flip folder full of doors, like they're connected in some way.
But the thing is, it's like they know, but they don't know where they end up, because sometimes they don't know. But I just don't like, he does it so flawlessly because it's a movie.
Now the thing that I didn't like about any of this is this whole thing. The thing that hinges on is the hats.
Exactly, because I was like, they say they live longer than humans, so they're implying that they're not humans, but if a human wears the hat, then they have the abilities?
The initial thing that I thought is a hat a metaphor for an angel's wings? Is that what it is? Because when an angel loses its wings,
I think so.
It can't do anything. It's human again. It doesn't have those mythological powers they talk about. So that's what my confusion is.
Well, it also said, he said that's how the chairman like keeps them from like how they keep track of their abilities and like put like a level on their abilities or something.
I would say
that they have to have it on.
So I'm going to talk about the inconsistencies that I remember from this movie specifically from a movie making storytelling standpoint. So obviously the first one was making the mockery of the whole concept of free will, obviously, because if the chairman just decides that anybody can have free will, he should have done that from the beginning.
Well, and they try to establish that saying like, okay, we gave you guys free will, and then all this happened. And then so we took it away again, and then we're thinking about giving it back to you.
Okay, here's my first quarrel, which goes back to me talking about, like, why is Matt Damon such a special snowflake? There's a point in the movie where he finally realizes that someone's in charge and there's movers and shakers changing things. And you notice that in his office building where he works,
he was in charge of nothing and, like, didn't make choices.
No. I'm saying in the sense that everyone is frozen in time and nobody can move and they're changing their thoughts with equipment and stuff like that. So this whole movie, why is Matt Damon not affected by that? Why can't they
he showed up and everything was frozen
but
and not working.
They spend these years trying to chase it. What's the point of the chase scene if they can just freeze everything and just do it like that? Matt Damon's immune to that for some reason? I don't understand. That's
they try to say that like they have to like get special permissions, but then some things you don't need permission. They're like, well, this is within your power, but then they're like, okay, now he needs. Number
2 is the interrogation scene where they bring him back into the garage, the complex, whatever, and I simultaneously love and hate the scene at the same time. It's where he tries to run away, and what's that character's name?
His name is Thompson.
Okay, Thompson, I guess, reads his mind, but he flicks his finger and it raises a part of the floor that trips Matt Damon and makes him drop. So they've established they have these magical powers where they can literally move objects, but they do it under the premise that, oh, I can interpret your choices, so I'm changing the choice that you made to not be in your favor. It's like, okay, you just...
Or if they read his mind and whenever they'd shut down the phone lines, so he couldn't make phone calls.
But in my head, I wanted to stand up and be like, motherfucker, you just moved that shit with your mind. You have telekinesis. You can't drop that shit in universe and then never bring it up again. Like, it
keeps doubling back on itself, and they keep on, and then there's a line he even says like, well, even Thompson has a boss, like saying like, okay, even we're not in control of certain things as well, like the only one that is in full 100% control is the chairman. And that's why I was thinking like, is Matt Damon supposed to become the next chairman or something?
Yeah.
If that's why he's immune to certain things, maybe his original plan was he was supposed to stumble onto this whole thing. So, because Anthony Mackie's character said like, well, yeah, everything's a test. So that's what makes me think at the end, I was like, is Matt Damon's character supposed to be the in line to be the chairman or something? I don't know.
And then the final thing, the big one, and this is just me overthinking it. It's not so much as a clerical error on storytelling or anything like that. So for context for people who haven't seen the Adjustment Bureau, these guys are all over the place. They move very quickly, and the reason they can do that is because they wear these fedoras that I guess in some form of magic or something allows them, no matter what door they enter, they can come out whatever door they want. That's how they move so fast. It's what the lore of the movie says, essentially.
When he's teaching him, he said only certain doors lead certain ways. Yeah.
Regardless of that, what I noticed at the end of the movie the second time I saw it, and even in the conversation when they're talking with, I think his name was Harry, Anthony Mackie's.
Yeah, that's his name, Harry.
Harry. And he's like, Harry, are you the chairman? He's like, no. And you have that conversation, but then you realize by the end of the movie, wait a minute, Matt Damon stole one of those hats. He still has it by the end of the movie. So now he's got this magical hat and nobody took it away from him by the end of the movie. So does he still have that? Like, what does that mean? Like, that completely opens the door for like Matt Damon.
I also saw at one point though, Matt Damon, whenever he had Harry's hat and then they showed Harry at the library area or whatever their base is, he had another hat. So maybe that's Matt Damon's hat now?
They could possibly, but like from what they left this movie open with Matt Damon coming out of getting what he wants, but also having this diabolical power. He can now go wherever he wants, and assuming there are more things you can do because you have that hat. I don't know if the hat specifically was just for traveling. Maybe he's got the telekinesis stuff that Thompson had too. But.
I almost want it to go, the sequel to just go, because, you know, Matt Damon's not coming back for the sequel. Let's just go full screwball comedy with seeing this guy in the hat. Yeah. It'd be like almost The Mask.
Yeah. Now here's what I would say that would have made this movie the best movie ever for me. I'm going to lay it out here. My favorite movie of all time is Shawshank Redemption. It's my favorite movie. I think it's fantastic.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But
fantastic.
For Adjustment Bureau to get up on Shawshank Redemption's level, I think it should have been viewed from the opposite. I think it should have been viewed from the Adjustment Bureau's standpoint and their attempt to try to catch and stay one step ahead
of somebody
of Matt Damon. And you
yeah.
watch how they function, you see what their whole process is. So it's almost like an introspection of like, oh, so this is how heaven works. But what happens when they have somebody who breaks the rules? Like, what does it mean for them? And in fact, not make the character not Matt Damon, make it revolve around Anthony Mackie's character. Because he seems to have more backstory than Matt Damon does because he was involved with his family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have that moment where he has to explain to him, like, yeah, I was in charge of killing your father, unfortunately. But then he's like, I had nothing to do with your brother and your mother. Nothing like that. It's like, well, shit, I want to know about that.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to.
That was one thing I was looking forward to the entire movie. I was like, I want to know what Anthony Mackie knows.
Yeah.
Like, why he's different than the rest of them, why he has this guilt, why he wants to help him. Like, I wanted to know, and then once we found out, I was totally satisfied.
Like, if you think of it like that movie Dogma, like, hell yeah, you want to see like the kind of shit that angels have to go through, right? Especially like government worker angels, if that's how it's you know, no one gives a shit about.
That would have been an interesting perspective, or maybe if they would have like did both perspectives, like we see certain scenes from Matt Damon's end, and then like they kind of
like sure, you get like a human connection with Matt Damon's existential crisis, what he's going through. But I can't imagine how awesome that story would be from an angel's perspective, whose job it is to watch these people and decide what their choices are going to be. Because in essence, that's seeing what the angel's choices is, and that opens up a whole nother Pandora's box of like,
what questions to ask at the end of this movie.
Yeah. So, like, do angels even have choices? Because, I mean, they're the ones choosing to put you on a certain path.
But apparently not, because they have to, like I said, they have to get authorized for certain things, like allowances.
Until Harry goes off the rails and decides to side with Matt Damon. So then, you know.
Man, yeah. And it's crazy that, because I really like this is such a unique film, like a unique take on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does have religious commentary, but it doesn't bang you over the head with it, which I really enjoyed as well. But it's a really interesting film. I was very perplexed by it, and now with some of your convincing, I might like watch it again. I might think something completely different. I secretly like wanted Elise to almost be the chairman even, but then I felt like that would have been a complete cop-out because they developed her character like none.
I think the one question I would have if I watched that movie again is trying to connect that idea that heaven is a place you can get to without dying. I think that's the other thing I question, because clearly
didn't even think about that either.
Clearly there is a physical place that Matt Damon was able to reach. So that it's not so much a question that needs to be answered, but it makes you think like, well, maybe if you thought of it in non-religious terms, maybe it is just a organization of a higher power, not so much maybe God, but still in the same vein, you know?
Yeah, and I like I said, I really enjoyed the way they took this concept, the way they built this world, and I can almost appreciate the fact that they didn't make a sequel of it, like just leave you to come up with your own vices. I mean, everything has a sequel these days, you know. But this segues into the movie I was going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason hasn't seen this movie, so we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time talking about it. But the way I connected these films together, like right after I watched this film and I was thinking about free will and choices, I instantly thought of this movie. It's called Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody, it's on Netflix, so definitely check it out. But Mr. Nobody, it stars Jared Leto. And Jared Leto is this man, and he's 118 years old. This takes place in the future, and he's this old man, and he's getting interviewed, and he's the oldest man alive because people are now immortal in this world, so he's like the last remaining like natural. That's not important. But anyway, so he's getting interviewed, and he's telling his life story, but the thing is, this movie is about, there's a series of choices that he's met with at each like act of the film. So at the very beginning of the movie, he makes a very big choice, and we see the outcome of that choice, but then we see the outcome of the other choice, and then that'll branch into another one, and then we see him marrying 3 different potential wives that he chose whenever he was a teenager, and ends up, and then we see each one. So we see this man live about 7 different lives. And he's telling this reporter, and the reporter's like, well, which one's the real one? Which is your life? And he's like, well, all of them. But he's crazy. But in his head, he's been able to experience every single possible life he could have lived.
Gotcha.
It's about 2.5 hours. It's a really long movie. But Jared Leto is fantastic in this film. It questions about the outcomes of certain choices that you make, like, pretty much it's a choose your own adventure movie, but we get to see all the different ones play out. Because like we were talking about with the when they write those, like there's the main, crux of the movie, and then it just kind of branches off here and there. Because like the first event is his parents split up, and you see if he goes to live with his mom, and then you see a life of if he chose to go live with his dad.
Yeah.
And it changes him as a person too. So like Jared Leto is playing like 6 different characters in this film. It's super cool. So yeah, I definitely recommend that to anybody. If you have 2.5 hours to kill, if you have a bowl to smoke as well, because this movie it's batshit nuts.
You know what that makes me think of when you talk about that? It makes me think of something I have seen, and it's an old movie. I didn't actually enjoy it, but it sounds in the same vein. It makes me think of Butterfly Effect.
Yes.
Yes.
But I love Butterfly Effect. Yeah. I think it's a super underrated film. But yeah, it kind of plays out like that. Like you.
Exactly I think it differs in that from what you're explaining with Nobody Man. It's something. It's choices that actually happened. Butterfly Effect, I think, was one of those.
Involved like time travel.
Well, yeah, but the question, it wasn't so much that these things have happened. Here's how it happened. Butterfly Effect was a what if movie because it always goes back. It shows us different scenarios for the same thing, and then finally, I guess Ashton Kutcher's character makes the actual choice of what he's going to do. I guess.
Well, see, that's the thing with Mr. Nobody is though they don't reveal it at the end. Which one was which one was his actual life? We don't know.
Yeah.
Like the man is literally convinced that he lived every single one of them.
Yeah.
So it's exactly like the Butterfly Effect. But think of instead of Ashton Kutcher, you get Jared Leto. So that's an upgrade, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a super cool film. And like each life, the way you keep track of it is a predominant color throughout it. So it's like, he's in one timeline when everything's yellow or when everything's blue or when everything's red.
Okay.
According to which wife he married. It's super cool. So check out Mr. Nobody, guys. It's a super cool movie on Netflix. And yeah, that will go ahead and wrap up our discussion on movies and choices. The Adjustment Bureau, a fantastic film. If you haven't seen that film, it's a hidden little gem there. And as you can see from our conversation, like, it raises so many questions.
You don't even need to smoke a bowl to enjoy that movie, honestly.
I watched The Adjustment Bureau sober today.
Yeah,
I watched it 100% sober.
That's the shit that makes you unsober is watching that movie, honestly.
Pretty much. It thinks you to the point to where like you get outside of that point where you're like, okay, I'm out of the higher level of think. I'm into real thinking now.
You just have that, oh man moment. It's just like, I had to think. I actually had to think that time.
It broke you. Once you think, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. So to close out the show, we're going to go into story time because I've been leaving this segment out of the past couple episodes. This will be a longer episode, but this has been the most like stuck to format as I've been in a while because I've been bouncing around having some weird episodes lately.
Yeah.
So we're going to close out with story time. So I had Jason think of an interesting story where he made a choice and you see how it played out. So do you have a story in mind? Or do you want me to tell mine first?
Why don't you go ahead and tell yours first?
Okay.
Yeah.
So mine is a fairly recent one, and it's a pretty awesome one. And pretty much I went to, back in Halloween weekend, I went to New Orleans. I went to New Orleans for 5 days for Voodoo Festival. It was amazing. Halloween weekend, New Orleans, couldn't beat it. And I went, and I was going to end up being like the fifth wheel because like I was staying with 2 other couples at the Airbnb. And then I was kind of like, okay, whatever. And then literally the first like 20 minutes I'm at this music festival, meet this girl, and we hit it off. And then she leaves, and then we end up meeting back up again. And she, as fate would turn out, like kind of like the Adjustment Bureau, like this was maybe a perchance, maybe it was according to the plan. I'm doing air quotes. So she had also come down by herself from Maine, and then she was like, "Yeah, I'm just kind of couch surfing." I was like, well, we have some room in our Airbnb if you want to just like crash with us for the night and then, or for the weekend or whatever. Obviously she could have been a looter or a thief, or, well, looters and thieves are the same thing. She could have been anything. She could have been a serial killer, but she was like 4'11", so I was, and cute, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna roll with this. I'm gonna trust this person. She also could have chose to not come home with me. I could have been a killer or a rapist or something. And where this story gets very funny, though, is, so fast forward to the end of the night, she's coming back, and we're only about 2 miles from the festival from our Airbnb, but I think, like, New Orleans, like, there's something about New Orleans that, like, fucks with your GPS or something, because it's not, like, a grid. Like, nothing in New Orleans makes sense, like the roads or anything. So I'm trying to do this on my GPS. Keep in mind, this is a music festival in New Orleans, guys. I'm fucked up, like, real fucked up. And we end up in a sketch neighborhood, and she's just like, oh my God, are we seriously going to a house, or like what's going on? And I was like, no. I swear, I'm not trying to kill you. I swear. So we end up making it to the house, and then she ends up getting along with all my friends, and she stays like the whole 5 days with us. Who knows how the weekend would have turned out otherwise if I did not meet this person literally within 20 minutes of being there. Craziness. So that is my story about how a weekend, who knows how it was going to turn out, and it turned out being pretty damn dope.
That's crazy. Shout
out to Ashley if you're listening.
I had to think about this for a second, because I know originally when we talked there, we were considering this idea of that, like, I think you said it was a time that technology scared you or something like that. I thought this, like I said, I thought the Adjustment Bureau was like a government like conspiracy movie or something. Yeah.
So then that's whenever I like changed the theme of the show.
And then you learned. Yeah. It's hard for me. There's a real cop out I can do here, because I've taught music for the last couple of years, and teachers can always make that excuse that the choices you make with certain students affect their lives, kind of thing. And that's, I'm not going to go in there. I remember specifically this one story that it's really strange, and you haven't heard this because it's a fun one, but it's not because it didn't pertain to you in any way, and it's not as you'll hear it and you'll understand it. I'm talking to M, by the way.
The fiance is not happy, not knowing this information.
You'll understand, because at no point was I ever prompted to think about this story.
No, I tell you the most random shit all the time.
No, I didn't remember this until he specifically asked me for it. So I'll talk about the stories. I used to know this guy back in my undergrad. We were kind of on-off acquaintances. We weren't specifically friends, but he would so happen to be at the same parties as me, or at the same places. No, he was a music guy.
But it was just kind of like one of those people like you like knew but like didn't know, but just like kind of ran into
kind of thing. He was a drummer,
Okay.
I was a percussionist, and he was more of a drummer. He was an actual drummer, so we would hang out and we'd talk about music related things. The funny thing is, he's the coolest name I ever heard. His name was Jaeger. Okay, he was this really
sweet.
He was this down to earth dude. He was kind of a little bit lazy, but at the same time, he was interested in having kind of like, it sounds so dumb, but he had like that kind of Zen mindset where he's like, cool, man, let's do whatever you want. I don't care, kind of thing. Well, I got to know him a little bit better for a couple, like 1 or 2 years, and because we, had those acquaintances from time to time, and he knew people that I knew. So like we had this larger net of people. So eventually we would meet once or twice, every month, and it'd be cool to catch up with them. Well, apparently, like during that time, I don't know what his like home life was or anything like that, but he himself was going through like this whatever, deciding what he wants to do for the rest of his life. And he would always talk about how like, yeah, man, like I have such a hard time thinking about these things because I have this friend who like, he just went abroad and he figured it out, like I've always wanted to be like that guy, kind of thing. Well, there's one day me and him were talking about it. We were drinking one night, and like Jaeger had this moment where he was just like, hey man, I've really been thinking about this. I want to do it. I'm going to do that thing I talked about. I have that friend who he left everything behind. He went and did this thing and he figured it out. He kept using that phrase, he figured it out, kind of thing. And like, I don't know what he meant when he was talking about that, but what Jaeger asked me after that was, I'm going to be real with you. Like, I'm going to go out of town right now and I'm going to get out of here. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I need some gas money. And he's like, could you spare me $20 or something like that? I don't remember if it was $20 or whatever, but I gave him what I had in my wallet. So like, that's the choice that I had. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's just like, he's just like, that's all he told me. He just said, I'm going to get out of here. Like, I'm going to go figure it out, kind of thing.
That's super ambiguous.
It's super ambiguous, but like I'm sitting there thinking, and I've had times where I've sat with people like there was this one time me and Em were going to PAX South next week, this convention over in San Antonio for gaming, and I went there last year, and about this, I told you. I met up in San Antonio. There was this homeless individual. We started chatting. I'm a talker. Yeah. So we ended up going out having a drink, and he told me how there's just this random guy I met who just wanted to be a veterinarian. We were talking over drinks, and she's like, "Yeah, man, I love animals and stuff, but like I'm kind of down and out at the moment, but that's what I'd want to do." So it's just like, that's cool. So with Jaeger's situation, he was just like, I'm going to get out of here. I want to go do it. I want to figure it out. It's like, that's cool, man. I guess, so I gave him a 20, and he, by the end of the night, we said, hey man, it was cool talking with you. And I guess when he left, he did like, he gassed up his car. He did whatever it was with that $20 that I gave him. And so now years later, this was like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I hear down the grapevine, it's like, yeah, you remember Jaeger? And it's like, yeah, dude, I remember about him. I gave him like $20 and he like left. It's like, didn't you not hear about him? It's like, no, what did I miss about him? It's like, he's in Japan right now. He's in Japan. He's doing business stuff with like this computer company or something. Like, I don't know specifically, but he's like an ambassador for their country. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's because the last time I remember seeing him is we were just at a bar, and I gave him $20 and he left. That was it.
And then that was that.
And so like I'm not trying to say that choice was in my control, but I had a hand in it.
Yeah.
So it's just like
you played a part, and then yeah, I mean, finding out Japan of all places. That's nuts.
And here's the thing: this is hearsay. It's from someone else's word. I haven't specifically talked to him since I last spoke with him when we last talked. But from what I've heard, he kind of figured it out. Like that whole crazy mumbo jumbo he was talking about, he did it.
He did it. He took the $20 and he figured it out. Holy shit.
So yeah, but that's the extent of that story. And like I never once thought about it, because like in my head it was just like,
what if, I mean, because you said like you guys met up like once a month or so,
yeah,
like kind of reconnect and stuff. So it's like, what if you would have said no, and then he maybe wouldn't have felt comfortable asking somebody else or something. Maybe. We don't know. But yeah, you made the conscious decision. You bought into what he was selling, whatever he figured out, and then
it's just that weird thing. It's just like you meet somebody.
It's just a little small thing.
It's not a small thing, but you can sense that enthusiasm, and it's just like, okay, like
I buy that for $20. Yeah. There you go.
So from what I know, my story is that I knew this guy. I just knew him. He wasn't, on-off friend, I guess, acquaintance, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like this was like a friend you've known for a long time. Like,
right.
I really need a favor. He was just like, hey.
You have a moment with an individual, and whether or not his whole route from there was based off what I chose to do for him, regardless, it's just like feeling like, wow, that's just like the craziest 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon I can think of right there.
Like you literally had a hand in it.
So as far as I know, he's I guess still like in Japan doing stuff for businesses, like some weird drummer dude I knew back from college who I knew nothing else other than that he liked drumming and drinking and hanging out. And now he's off doing supposedly this really big stuff, and that's cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess the moral of this podcast, guys, like choices have outcomes. Like, and you can't ever think of something as the right choice. Maybe like that's something I've always thought about. Is like, I don't think there's always a correct or not correct choice to make at a time. You just make it, and it's gonna go one way or another. So it's cool to see it play out in movies. It's cool to see it play out in life. And I think I'll go ahead and do it for this podcast episode, guys. Thank you so much, Jason, for coming. This was super fun. We had some, I love playing the games. Had a first-time listener in while recording. Thank you, Emily, for coming as well. Jason, where can the people find you? What are you working on at the moment?
You can find me in 2 places. Currently, I'm mostly on Twitter a lot. I gave up on Facebook a long time ago, so you can find me at www.twitter /_ Jason Lord _. It's just my name with those 2 underscores on it. And you can find me on YouTube, where I like to call it music-y, science-y stuff. I do musical things. I make shitty controllers. I build stuff. It's just a hodgepodge.
He's literally like a mad scientist with game things.
Pretty much, yeah.
Essentially is what it is. They're really fun to watch, guys.
If you want to find that, you can go to youtube.com/HeySwezo is the name I use for that. It's some stupid name I came up with. I
wasn't sure on how to pronounce it.
It'll
be in the description, guys.
Yeah. It means nothing, but I like the way it sounds.
Hey, it works.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how your videos are. It's just like, you don't know what this is, but hey, look at it.
Pretty much.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah, guys, go ahead and check out Jason on Twitter. Check him out on YouTube. He has some very cool stuff. And last thing is, guys, make sure you're subscribed to the iTunes feed if you don't want to listen on iTunes. It is on my YouTube channel. It is on Spreaker, Stitcher, and Google Play Music. I have some super exciting news, guys. Hopefully by the time this episode goes up, I should have my Twitter page for the podcast up as well. So go ahead and follow me on that. But follow me at Deezus12 on Twitter, Deezus12 on Instagram, and on Facebook as well is where you can find literally everything that you can find. But make sure you're rating and reviewing on iTunes because those reviews help me out big time. And be looking out, guys. I have some awesome news that I'll be teasing in the next couple of episodes. There's some really cool stuff happening with the podcast, guys. So check me out. Deezus Take the Reel every Tuesday. Peace out, motherfuckers.